Okay, right now what we are going to do, we are going to open our Access program. So type in your Access program and then click open. Now when you click open, what we are going to do, we are going to select a blank desktop database where we are going to create from our database, our default database. So you click on blank desktop database and then it will tell us we need to input in the file name. Okay, we need to input in the file name. So the default file name, you can see it's database 3. Of course we have a number of databases that I created previously, but right now we are going to try to create our own file name. Okay, so let us get to the question. Let us look through this question here. So I'm going to open it and then we have a look at the question. Okay, so we have this question here in Microsoft Access. So they're telling us ABBA-Clinic deals with a lot of patient information which is confidential, but you find at times the patient files get old and start tearing, thus losing critical information. Use the information given below to create a database for ABBA-Clinic so as to enable the clinic to easily find and retrieve information whenever it's needed. So we have our two tables here. We have the patient table, we have the disease table, we have the information already input within the table. So of course these are the field names that we have, and then this is what we are going to input in our Access database. Then we have the field names of the disease table here. Then we also have the information that we are going to input in within the particular table when we are creating our tables within the database. So the first question here, it says using Microsoft Access, create a database called ABBA-Clinic in the folder you created on the desktop. So our database name is going to be called ABBA-Clinic. So I'll just have this. This is what we are going to input in here. Okay, so ABBA-Clinic, click create. They're telling us it already exists. I don't need to replace it. Let me just call it now. Let's change the name since it's similar. Let me call it ABBA-Clinics, so that we don't have a similar name in our database. So I'm calling this ABBA-Clinics. Click create. Now when you click create, you can see that we have our name ABBA-Clinic here. So right now this is our environment. We have the tabs. We have the file, home, create, external, database tools, fields, and table tab. Okay, now we are going to create our table. So before we create our table, you are going to go to the views section here, click the drop down arrow, select design view. Now they're telling us to rename our table. Now remember we have two tables that we are going to create. That means we go back to our question. We start off with the patient table. So this is our table we are creating, table, patient table. So you rename it and then you call it patient table. After doing that, we have to input in the ID, the field names. Okay, we have to input in the field names. So we have the first one is called patient ID. So that is what we are going to have as our primary key here. Now for the data type, of course we have alphabets and also numeric characters. That means we are going to use short text to represent both. Then we have patient name. That is our next field name. We input it there. Then we shall use the data type short text. Then of course we have gender. We have gender. Now for gender here, we are going to use I'm looking through the question. We don't have anything like lookup wizard here, but for the gender we have what we call a lookup wizard. Okay, we have what we call a lookup wizard. Now lookup wizard, what it does, it's going to allow us to select it will display for us a list whereby we are able to select our information without needing without for us typing it in. So this is how it works. So click the drop down arrow, select lookup wizard. When you select it, we have two options here. Select I'll type it in the values that I want, click next, then you type here male, then finally we type here female, then click next, then click finish. So we have managed to input in the lookup wizard. Then we have appointment date. Now for the appointment date, we are going to select a data type called date stroke time. Then we have disease ID. Now disease ID, this one belongs to the disease table, but why we are having it here, it's because it's going to represent it's going to be a foreign key. Okay, why it's a foreign key? It's because it's a primary key coming from another table. Okay, so disease ID, we have it here. Then we shall have, of course, we shall have it as again as short text, because it's going to have numeric characters, the numbers, and then also the alphabets. It's going to represent that. Then we have hometown, we have this as well, hometown. So hometown, of course, it's going to be short text as well. So when you're done with that, creating our tables, now for the appointment date, we need to create the format of how we are going to input in our dates. So you click that, go to input mask here, then click these dots that you're seeing here. Then you'll have something projecting on your screen. So what you do, shall select short date, click next, just go ahead and click next, then click finish. You save that. After saving that, you close your table. Okay, now we are done with creating our first table. So we go ahead and create the second table, which is called the disease table. So you create a new table, simply go to create, the create tab, then click table design. When you click table design, we have our table here. So what we are going to do, you click save. When you click save, you are going to call it disease table. Click OK. They're saying input in the field names. Okay, so before we create we rename our table, we need to first input in the field names. So we go ahead, we have disease ID, we place it there. Then now of course it's going to be short text. Then we have disease name. After disease name, we have consultation fee. Now for consultation fee here, we have two data types. We have number, you may use number, or we have currency. Now for currency here, what I'm suggesting, maybe most likely we need to use currency, simply because this is going to be in terms of monetary this is now monetary terms. Okay, this is now like money. Now of course we don't have it's not being specified whether it's Uganda shillings, whether it's US dollars. Okay, it is just simply consultation fee. It doesn't have a currency. Okay, so the data type we shall use, that I will recommend you would use currency. Okay, preferably use currency. If not currency, you can use number. Okay, but preferably I would prefer use currency. Okay, now when you choose currency, let us go to the format of the currency that we want. You go down to the format row, click the drop down arrow. Now you can see by default it has currency in US dollars. Okay, in US dollars. So select general. When you select general number, it's going to bring it like this. Okay, to display it like this. If you leave it in this format of currency, it's going to bring it. Let me save this and you see what I'm telling you. Okay, so let me first click, I save this to this table. Okay, we need a primary key. Why am I even rushing? Let me first go back, select this as general number, save that. Now before we save the disease table as well, we need to identify our primary key. Okay, our primary key is disease ID. It's the unique identifier. Okay, so the primary key icon is here. It's in the design tab. Okay, so you click. Now the cell that you are going to attach your primary key, you have to select it. It is the disease ID. Click primary key. It will appear here on the screen. That's how you create your primary key. Okay, So now we proceed. We have doctor specialist, our next field name here. So we are going to save that. So of course this will be short text. Now for the currency, I'm going to save that. Click OK. The currency here we have. Now you can see it's when we run this, I'm going to try to run this disease table. So you can see we have here dollars. Okay, so we need to change it back to what? To general. Okay, to this. So what you are going to do, click this, select that drop down arrow, select general, save that. When you try to run it again, the currency has vanished. Okay, so it's now fine. So we are done with creating our disease table and the patient table. We close that. So that means we are done with the first phase of creating the tables. Create the two tables, we are done with that as well. Now they're telling us assign the two tables the rightful primary keys. We're also done. We have already assigned this with our primary key, as you can see on the screen. Then the next table also has its own primary key, as you can see on the screen. So now we have create the appropriate forms named patient form and disease form that will enable you populate the above information to the database. So now to create the form, we go back, go to the patient table, click on the table, go to the create tab, then go to the forms section here. So go to form wizard. So select everything, click this button that has double arrows, click next, click next, click modify the forms design. Now we have to rename the form. So they're telling us it's supposed to be called what? Patient form. Okay, so of course we shall rename this to patient form. Click finish. Yes, wait for it. Yeah, so we have our patient form. Double click on it. This is our patient form. So we close that. Then we need to what? Create the disease form. Is it? Yes, disease form. First copy the name, disease form. So form wizard, select everything, next, you click next, modify, then this form, we are having it here as well. So we have our forms, they are already created, and they're telling us that will enable you to populate the above information. So we need to input in this information as well in our forms that we have created. So we go to the patient form, we look at the data. We have the first one, part 1. We input it there. We get the patient name, you type it in. Type in the patient name. Me, I'll copy and paste because I have the information in soft copy. Then we have the date. Date is 23rd. Okay, so I think I'll do this. Yeah. Then we input in the data. So make sure you input in this data, and then we proceed. So it's the same thing we are going to do with the remaining tables, but because of time, I'm going to input in only 2. Okay, because of time, I'm going to input in only 2 individuals, and then I proceed. So this one is the male. Then we have the date. Date, we put it there. This is ID. Then we have the hometown. So yeah, so I think I'm going to input in only 2 field names because of time. We're running out of time. I'm done with inputting the information there. Make sure you input in everything. So when you are going to the next slide, you just click next record here to take you to the next record and input in the field names. So patient form is done. We are assuming it's done. We go to the disease form. Let's input in only 2 individuals as well. So I'll copy this. I'll put that here for you to do the typing, because since I'm having a soft copy with me, that's why I'm copying and pasting. Then the amount is this is 5,000. Okay, so it is 5,000. Then specialist, it's yeah. Then next we have this, then we have this, then we have 7,000, then finally we have this. Okay, I'm going to save this and then I close that. So I think we have put in two are enough on my side, but for you, make sure you finish up with everything. So we need to create a query. Okay, we need to create a query with the fields and name it patient query. So that means the query we are about to create is going to be called patient query. So what we are going to do, go back to the patient table, click on it, click create, select go to the queries section here, click query wizard, click that, hold on, yes, click OK. Now we are going to get information from two tables. We have, okay, it's fine, not two tables, we're having only one table, the patient table. So we only need to have the patient ID. They are telling us patient name, then also disease ID. So this is what they want. So select next, click modify. The name of the query is going to be called patient query. So click finish. So when you are done, what we are going to do, we are going to let's see, yeah, we are done. Let me patient query with field names. Yeah, it's done. So we are going to run our query. You save, then you run, click run. When you run your query, this is what they are looking for. They only want us to have this patient ID, patient name, disease ID. You're done with creating the query. Okay, yeah, then they're telling us generate a report. Okay, and name it patient report. So I'll close this and then make sure you select patient table since we are creating a patient report. Go to the report section after selecting in the create tab, click report wizard, select everything, click next, next. Then of course here we have different layouts, page orientation. Now here they haven't specified and asked us that they want a specific layout. So if they haven't specified, that means we can choose any type of layout that we want. Then we also have the page orientation here, how we want our page to display. So in the question they haven't specified whether they want it in landscape or portrait, so that means we can go with any settings that we want. So I'll assume that this is fine with us, so I'll select next, then click modify. Now they want us to write down the title of the report. It's patient report. So I'll say this is patient report, click finish. Okay, so we have our report here, double click on it. This is our report. Yeah, so don't mind about this, the hash that you are seeing on the screen, simply because this is how our report is looking like. Okay, it doesn't look nice, but this is what they actually want. Okay, then they are saying generate a report showing the diseases created in Aba Clinic, call it disease report. So for disease report, I'll do this. We go back to our question, disease table, click create, go to report section, click report wizard, select everything, next. Then the same scenario repeats itself. Okay, they haven't specified the layout they want, the type of layout. They haven't specified the type of page orientation they want for our report, the way it's supposed to be displayed. So I'll assume this is what they want and then click next, modify. So we call this disease report. So press finish, and then we are having patient report, the disease report as well. So close that. We are done with the question. So we are going to attempt another one in our next video.